Good day, everyone. Welcome to Valenzuela Live for Mathematics in Grade 6. I am teacher Marlene Carduse from Constantino Elementary School, one of your live streaming teachers for today. How are you doing? I hope you're all doing well. Are you ready for the first day of the online classes? Do you want to have some fun while learning? If so, hit the heart reaction. The most essential learning competencies that we will be discussing in our learning engagement are as follows. First, you will learn on how to add and subtract simple fractions and mix numbers without and with regrouping. Second, is to solve routine and non-routine problems involving addition and or subtraction of fractions. Before we begin our discussion, please be reminded to prepare your module, pen, and paper. To actively participate to our discussion, you can write your answer by typing it in the comment box. A healthy body follows a healthy mind, and a healthy mind will have more effective learning. To easily learn our topics for today, we have to make sure that our mind and body are healthy. For us to be healthy, we should know how to take good care of our body. And how are we going to do that? We should have enough sleep, drink plenty of water, exercise, and eat nutritious food like meat, vegetables, and fruits. And speaking of fruits, some of the most common nutritious fruits that is packed with vitamins and antioxidants are the pineapples, mangoes, and bananas. And let us answer a math problem involving those fruits. Let me read first the problem. Aling Marites harvested some fruits in her farm. 3/5 of the fruits were pineapples, 1/5 were mangoes, and the rest were bananas. How many of the fruits were bananas? So to solve this math problem, we can use different methods. And one is using a bar model. So I have here a bar which represents the total number of fruits, and I will divide it into 5 equal parts since the given fractions in the problem both have a denominator of 5. And after dividing it into parts, we can now easily identify the fractions of each fruit. Starting from the pineapples, which is 3/5 of the total number of fruits. Then we have the mangoes, which is 1/5 of the total number of fruits. As you can see, the remaining part is the fraction part for the bananas, and that is 1/5. We can also solve it this way by adding the total fractions of pineapples and mangoes, then subtract it from 1 or 1 whole or a whole. So let's try. So 3/5 of the fruits, which are pineapples, is added to 1/5 of the fruits, which is mangoes. And as you notice, the two given fractions have the same denominators, and we know that fractions having the same denominators are called similar or like fractions. So to add similar fractions, we just have to follow few simple steps. First, copy the same denominator. When we say denominator, this is the number at the bottom of the fraction, which is 5. Second is to add the numerator or the numbers at the top. So 3 plus 1 equals 4. And the answer now is 4/5. Next let's say subtract the obtained answer from a whole. A whole number can be written into fraction like the one whole here can be written as 5/5 in fraction form. Recall that a fraction with the same numerator and denominator can be simplified as a whole because number divided by the same number is always equal to 1. So to get the fraction for bananas, let us subtract 4/5, which is the sum of the fraction of pineapples and mangoes, from 5/5, which is equal to a whole for the total number of fruits. So using the same steps earlier, let us copy the common denominator 5 and then subtract the numerator. 5 minus 4 equals 1. And we get the same answer, which is 1/5, or 1/5 of the fruits is bananas. And that is how we add and subtract similar fractions. Let's do some other examples on how to add or subtract similar fractions. So let's add 3/7 and 1 and 2/7. So using the same steps, let's copy the common denominator 7 and then add the numerator. 3 plus 2 equals 5. And write down the whole number, 1. And the answer now is 1 and 5/7. Another example. This time, let us subtract the fraction 2 and 7/8 and 5/8. So again, let's copy the common denominator 8 and then subtract the numerator. 7 minus 5 equals 2. And then write down the whole number 2. And since the other fractions doesn't have a whole number, so we will just write it as 2. Or we can assume that this part here is 0. So when we subtract 2 to 0, the answer is 2. And we get 2 and 2/8. But try to observe, class. The fraction part here, 2/8, is not in simplest form. And that would be our last step. Reduce the fraction into lowest term by dividing the numerator and the denominator to its common factor, which is 2. Okay, let's divide. 2 divided by 2 equals 1, and 8 divided by 2 equals 4. And then write down the whole number 2. So our final answer now is 2 and 1/4. 2 and 1/4. And that is how we add and subtract simple fractions and mixed fraction with the same denominator. But what if the fractions have different denominators? What are we going to do? That you will find out in our next example. To add or subtract the similar fractions, we have to change them to similar fraction. We need to look for the equivalent fraction using the least common denominator, or commonly known as the LCD. So let us have a quick review about the LCD. LCD, or least common denominator, is simply the least common multiple of the denominators. For example, fractions such as 1/2 and 2/3 have different denominators. So to get the least common multiple of the denominators, 2 and 3, we will use the listing method. So let's start with 2. 2 has multiples of 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and so on. While 3 has multiples of 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, and so on. As you can see, 2 and 3 have several common multiples like 6 and 12, and so on. But we're only looking for the least or smallest common multiple, and that is 6. So the LCD is 6. We can also show the equivalent fractions of 1/2 and 2/3 visually. So here are the illustrations of 1/2 and 2/3. So using the LCD or the least common denominator, if we divide the figure into 6 equal parts instead of 2 and 3 and shade it accordingly based on the figure, it gives us 3/6 and 4/6 respectively. And 3/6 is the equivalent fraction of 1/2, same with 4/6 as it is the equivalent fraction of 2/3. We can also multiply the denominators by a number that will make the fraction similar, like in the first fraction, which is 1/2. 1/2 has a denominator of 2, and what should be the number to be multiplied by 2 to become 6? Yes, you are correct. It's 3. So whatever number you multiply by the denominator must also be multiplied to the numerator. And in 1/2, 2 times 3 equals 3. 1 times 3 equals 3, and 2 times 3 equals 6. So we get 3/6 as its equivalent fraction. For the second fraction, which is 2/3, the denominator is 3. And what number should be multiplied by 3 to become 6? Correct. It's 2. So the same rule applies. In 2/3, 2 times 2 equals 4, and 3 times 2 equals 6. So we get 4/6 as its equivalent fraction. Now that they have the same denominators, they can now be called similar fractions. Then do the steps in adding and subtracting similar fractions. Okay, so let's add the fraction. Again, let's follow the rules in adding similar fraction. Copy the common denominator 6, and then add the numerator. 3 plus 4 equals 7. And 7 over 6 is not yet in simplest form, so we will change it into a mixed number. And that is equal to 1 and 6. Let's do some examples in subtracting the similar fraction. This time, we will arrange the fraction and add it vertically. Okay, so let's add 2/3 and 2 and 11 over 15. As you can see, the given fraction have different denominator, so we will look for the least common denominator of the two. So what is the least common denominator? Okay, so we will look first for the least common multiple of the denominators 3 and 15. For 3, it has multiples of 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, and so on. For 15, it has multiples of 15, 30, 45, 60, and so on. And what do you think is the least common denominator? Okay, very good. It's 15. So our least common denominator now is 15. So using the LCD, let's rename the given fraction to its equivalent fraction. So if we have a denominator of 15, what number will you multiply by 3 to get 15? Very good. We will multiply 5. So whatever number you multiply to the denominator is, we will also do it in the numerator. So we will multiply 5 also to the numerator. 2 times 5 equals 10, and 3 times 5 equals 15. So the equivalent fraction of 2/3 is 10 over 15. While for 2 and 11 over 15, since its denominator is already 15, so there is no need for us to change it or to rename the fraction. So we will just leave it as 2 and 11 over 15. And that is now the time that we can now add the two fractions. So let's add. First, copy the common denominator 15, and then add the numerator. 10 plus 11 equals 21. Then write down the whole number 2. And again, the fraction part, 21 over 15, is not yet in simplest form. So we will change it into a mixed number. And that is 1 and 6 over 15. And then let's add it to our whole number 2. Then add the two whole numbers. 2 plus 1 equals 3. And then combine it to our fraction part, which is 6 over 15. But we're not yet done because 6 over 15 is still not in simplest form. So we have to think of the common factor of the numerator and the denominator, and that is 3. So we will divide the numerator and the denominator by 3. 6 divided by 3 equals 2, and 15 divided by 3 equals 5. And write down the whole number. And this is now our final answer, 3 and 2/5. Another example. Let's subtract 3/4 from 10 and 9 over 16. So again, since the two given fractions have different denominators, so let's look for the LCD. For 16, the multiples of 16 are 16, 32, 48, 64, and so on. And for 4, the multiples of 4 are 4, 8, 12, 16, 24, and so on. So what do you think is the least common multiples of the two numbers? Very good. It's 16. So our least common denominator is 16. So using again the LCD 16, let's rename the fraction to get its equivalent fraction. So for the first given fraction, which is 10 and 9 over 16, since its denominator is already in 16, so there's no need for us to rename the fraction. So we will just write it as 10 and 9 over 16. While for 3/4, if the denominator is 16, what number should be multiplied by 4 to get 16? Yes, it's 4. So the same rule applies. Whatever number you multiply to the denominator, you will also multiply to the numerator. 3 times 4 equals 12, and 4 times 4 equals 16. So we now have 12 over 16. Since the two fractions are like fractions, so we can now subtract the fractions. Okay, let's subtract. 9 minus 12. Can we subtract 9 to 12? Or can we subtract 12 from 9? No, because 9 is less than 12. So to answer this, we will regroup our minuend, which is 10 and 9 over 16. And the whole number part will be breakdown into 9 and 1. So it will become 9 plus 1 plus 9 over 16. And then the 1 whole will be changed into fraction form. So the 1 whole will be changed into fraction form, and that will become 16 over 16. So why we choose the number 16? Because of our LCD, or the least common denominator. And then after that, let's combine the fraction part. Since these two fractions are similar fractions, so let's add 16 plus 9, the answer is 25, and then write the sum over the common denominator, 16. And then write down the whole number part, which is 9. Okay, so this is now our minuend. And then let's subtract it now to our subtrahend. So let's go back to 12 over 16. Okay, so first, let's copy the common denominator, 16. And then subtract the numerator, 25 minus 12. And it will give us a difference of 13. And then write down the whole number, which is 9. And that is now our final answer. 9 and 13 over 16. So let us apply what you have learned in solving word problems. And this is our first problem. So let me read first the problem. James spent 3/10 of his allowance for snacks and 5/10 for lunch. What fraction of his allowance were left? So in solving math problems, we follow the 4-step rule. Step 1, understand the problem. Know what is asked and what are the given. So in this problem, we have to find for the fraction of his allowance that were left. And that is, or the fraction of his allowance that were left. And for the given, 3/10 of his allowance for snacks and 5/10 for lunch. Let's proceed to step 2. Devise a plan. We need to think of a strategy to solve the problem. And it also includes the operation. So in this problem, we can use a bar model. For step number 3, carry out a plan or solve the problem using the chosen strategy. So using the bar model, the whole bar represents the amount of James' allowance divided into 10 equal parts. Since the given has all denominators of 10. Then shade the 3/10 that he spent for snacks and 5/10 for buying lunch. So we can now identify that the remaining fraction is 2/10, which is the fraction of his allowance that were left. And the last step is step 4, which is look back. Read the problem again and check if the answer is correct. So if we add all the given fraction, 3/10 plus 5/10, including our answer, 2/10, we come up with 3 plus 5 equals 8 plus 2 equals 10. And write the sum over the common denominator, 10, or 10/10, which is equal to 1, or a whole. So therefore, 2/10 or 1/5 is the fraction of his allowance that were left. Let's have another example. Erica took a bath for 15 and 7/8 minutes and spent 17 and 9/10 minutes to get dressed before she had breakfast. How long did it take her to get ready for breakfast? Again, let's follow the 4-step rule. Step 1, understand the problem. So we need to look for the number of minutes Erica take her to get ready for breakfast. For the given, we have 15 and 7, 8 minutes for taking a bath, and 17 and 9/10 minutes to get dressed. For step number 2, devise a plan. So the operation will be addition. So let's add the given fraction. So 15 and 7/8 plus 17 and 9/10 equals to n, where n is the number of minutes Erica take her to get ready for the breakfast. For step 3, carry out the plan. So let's solve the problem. 15 and 7/8 plus 17 and 9/10. So again, the given fractions have different denominators, so we have to look for the LCD. And what's the LCD? Okay, so the LCD is 40. So using the LCD, let's rename the fraction to get its equivalent fraction. So since we have 40 as our denominator, so if we multiply 5 to 8, so we will also multiply 5 to the numerator. 7 times 5 equals 35, and 8 times 5 equals 40. And write down 15. And if the denominator is 40 again, what number will you multiply to 10 to get 40? Okay, that's 4. So we will multiply 4 to the denominator and 4 to the numerator. So 9 times 4 equals 36, and 10 times 4 equals 40. So the equivalent fraction of 17 and 9/10 is 17 and 36 over 40. So this time, let's add the fractions. So let's write down first the common denominator 40 and add the numerator. 35 plus 36 is 71. And then the whole number part, 15 plus 17, the answer is 32. And try to observe, class, the fraction part. 71 over 40 is not in simplest form or an improper fraction. So we will change it to a mixed number. And that is 1 and 31 over 40. Let's add it to our whole number 32. And the answer will become 33 and 31 over 40. So therefore, Erica takes 33 and 31 over 40 minutes to get ready for breakfast. Okay, so let's check your understanding by having our first activity. And the title of our first activity is the fraction maze. So here's the mechanic. Choose the correct answer in the maze from the starting point to reach the finish line. Okay, so here is the maze. So let's help the alien from the starting point to travel across the finish line by solving each problem in the box and choosing the correct answer. So let's begin. Okay, so let's start with 8 over 15 plus 11 and 3 over 15. Okay, what do you think will be the correct answer? Is it 11 and 11 over 30 or 11 and 11 over 15? So you can write your answer in the comment box. Okay, I can see some correct answer. The correct answer is 11 and 11 over 15. Since the two fractions have the same denominator, so we'll just add the numerator. 8 plus 3 equals 11, then write down the whole number. And the final answer now is 11 and 11 over 15. Next. This time, let's subtract 4 over 12 from 8 and 7 over 12. If the answer is 8 and 1/4 or 8 and 3 over 24. Again, write your answer in the comment box. Okay, the correct answer for this is 8 and 1/4. So again, since the given problem have the same denominator, so we will just subtract the numerator. 7 minus 4 equals 3, and then write down the whole number part, and that is 8 and 3 over 12. But it's not in simplest form, so the simplest form of it is 8 and 1/4. Okay, this time let's add the fractions 18 and 1/6 and 2/7. Is the answer 18 and 19 over 42 or 18 and 3 over 13? Again, write your answer in the comment box. Okay, for this problem, it involves the similar fraction. So we have to look for the LCD. And the LCD of 1/6 and 2/7 is 42. So let's rename the fraction to get its equivalent fraction. And that is 18 and 7 over 42 added to 12 over 42. Then let's add the numerator. 7 plus 12, that is 19. And write the sum over the common denominator, 42. And put it together to our whole number, 18. And that is now our final answer, 18 and 19 over 42. For the last problem, we have 17 and 2/5 minus 1/9. Is the answer 17 and 1 over 45 or 17 and 13 over 45? Again, please write your answer in the comment box. Okay, for this problem, the correct answer is 17 and 13 over 45. So the LCD for 17 and 2/5 and 1/9 is 45. So let's rename the fraction to its equivalent fraction. So 17 and 2/5 has an equivalent fraction of 17 and 18 over 45, while 1/9 has an equivalent fraction of 5 over 45. And subtract the numerator, 18 minus 5, difference is 13. Write the difference over the common denominator, 45. And put it together to our whole number, 17. So the final answer now is 17 and 13 over 45. There it goes. So thanks for helping. So do you want more? Okay, let's do some more practice. And here's the direction for our second activity. Prepare a piece of paper and solve the following problems within the time limit. Follow the steps in solving word problems and simplify your answer if possible. So in this activity, you will be given 20 seconds to answer the problem. Okay, so for problem number 1, let me read first the problem. Christy finished her assignment in mathematics. for 1 and 2/8 hours, and her assignment in English for 1 and 5/8 hours. How long did it take her to finish the two assignments? Your 20 seconds starts now. Okay, time's up. So let's check your answer. Okay, so the correct answer is 1 and 7/8 hours. For problem number 2, during a contest, Armand drank 1 and 9/5 liters of lemonade. And Frank drank 1 and 1/2 liters. So who drank more lemonade and by how many liters? 20 seconds starts now. Okay, time's up. So in this problem, to see if you got the correct answer, let's look at the solution. Okay. So for problem number 2, Armand drank more lemonade, and that is by 1 and 3/10 liters. Okay, for problem number 3, Aling Minerva, a fish vendor, had 24 and 1/2 kilograms of fish. So when she started peddling, after an hour, she sold 8 and 1/4 kilograms. So 3 hours later, she sold another 14 and 1/4 kilograms. How many kilograms of fish were unsold? Your 20 seconds starts now. Hello. Okay, time's up. So let's check your answer in this solution. Okay, for problem number 3, we are looking for the numbers of kilograms of fish that were unsold. So to solve this, we will add all the fish sold and subtract it from the original kilograms of fish, and we come up with 2 kilograms. So there you have it. So let's wrap up our lesson by simply remembering this. So to add or subtract similar fractions, add or subtract the numerators and write the sum or difference over the common denominator. And to add or subtract the similar fractions, change them first to similar fractions, then add or subtract the same way you add or subtract similar fractions. And to add or subtract mixed numbers, just add or subtract the fraction parts and the whole number parts separately, then put together the sum or difference of the fraction and the whole numbers. Regroup the fractions if needed, and don't forget to simplify your answer. Okay, for some clarifications and other concerns, you may type it in the comment box and the moderator will choose the question. Okay, so let's have a question from Serrano Elementary School. So this is her question. How can we subtract a fraction from a whole number? So earlier, I have said that you can change a whole number into fraction form. And if the whole number is already in fraction form, so you can now follow the rules or steps in adding or subtracting fractions. Okay, so thank you for that. So, okay, since we don't have much time, you may raise your question to your subject teacher. And for an additional activity, please do answer activity What's More, pages 4 to 5. And here is the copy of your assignment. So thank you, grade 6, for listening and for an active participation. Again, I'm Teacher Marlene Ferduce. Have a great day and see you soon. Bye!